Good evening. It's Sunday, May the 16th, and this is another edition of Cultivating the Culture. We welcome you. Today's episode, we're going to be discussing the rights of protection that Masjid Al Aqsa has upon the people, whether you're Muslim, Christian, Jew, or whoever, the world, the rights that they have to protect this place. And as always, we start our show off with our great leader. His name is Malcolm X, or Malik Shabazz, as many know. And let us start the show. Peace be with you.
Nowadays, to learn how to do is see for yourself and listen for yourself and think for yourself, and then you can come to an intelligent decision for yourself. But if you form the habit of going by what you hear others say about someone, or going by what others think about someone, instead of going and searching that thing out for yourself and seeing for yourself, you will be walking west when you think you're going east. You'll be walking east when you think you're going west. So this generation, especially of our people, have a burden upon themselves more so than at any other time in history. The most important thing we can learn how to do today is think for ourselves. It's good to keep wide open ears and listen to what everybody else has to say. But when you come to make a decision, you have to weigh all of what you heard of its own and place it where it belongs, and then come to a decision for yourself, and you'll never regret it. But if you form the habit of taking what someone else says about a thing without checking it out for yourself, you'll find that other people will have you hating your own friends and loving their enemies.
Welcome back. How you doing? This is Tariq Ibn Jamil, and we're having another edition of Cultivating the Culture. And hold on for a moment. We started the show kind of late, but today we're going to go into 8:15. And so also what we did was we told everybody to start making calls in around 8:15. So we're going to be taking calls today at 8:30. So today I have my guest, Muhammad Bashir, is our constitutional attorney, our attorney, criminal attorney, our person that's knowledgeable of the law, and also a Muslim that's a strong person that has been born Muslim, been active, have a strong history. Today, what we're doing is we're going over the situation with Masjid Al Aqsa. You know, as you see, we have it here, Arabic, Jamaat al-Sijin, that's our group right here. We have a nation of faith. And a nation of faith, I'll explain to you, a nation of faith is our organization, Ummat al-Iman. What we do is we do what I guess we call it interreligion, but not interfaith. We do interreligion, we talk with other religions, but we talk about the one faith. And that's, belief in the Creator, and the correct belief in the Creator, the belief in His angels, and the correct belief in His angels, the belief in His books that He has sent, the belief in His messengers, the belief in the last day, and then also the belief in the predetermination, or what we call the qadar, whether it is the good of it or the bad of it. And this is the organization that we have, and we deal with people of different faiths and different religions. And we try to be able to have this common understanding of what is truth concerning these things. Who we follow, the people they are Hebrews, they say they follow Moses, and the people that are Christian, they say they follow Jesus. And as Muslims, we believe in Moses and we believe in his revelation. We believe in Jesus, we believe in his revelation, but we follow the final revelation, which is of Muhammad ibn Abdullah. So during the month of Ramadan, there was a attack that happened at Masjid Al Aqsa, and now we've kind of gone into it as the media. The media is, controlled media, what we have, or supremacy media. And supremacy is not just white supremacy. Supremacy is supremacy. Even in, you may have something in Uganda, and they have supremacy media. and they'll have it for whatever tribe is running things, and they're going to put the media, their imagery the way that they want. And so here we have supremacy media. And the supremacy media, people work together and they push a certain agenda. And here it is, even though someone is wrong, because this was a wrong offense that happened, that, you know, they went in and they desecrated a place of worship, which is sacred to the Muslims, the Christians, the Jews, and has been that way forever. Nobody's talking about that. We're just going into what happened after, you know. And I always use examples like somebody walking up to me, punching me in my face, and then after I punch him, I break his jaw, and then everybody's like, "Yo, why'd you break his jaw?" Okay, well, he shouldn't have touched me, you know. But you're locking me up because I did. No, that's the way I defended myself. You shouldn't have touched me. I wasn't doing nothing. I was just walking. And the same thing about this. The people was not doing anything. They were just worshiping their creator. So we got my brother Muhammad Bashir. Muhammad Bashir, I know you did some of your own research and everything. What do you think? Should we start off with that video first or what?
Yeah, I think the video gives us a lot of context. And first of all, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum to everyone. Thank you for inviting me. And I think the video gives a lot of context and it helps us broaden the discussion. So, yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah, during that time, somebody had sent me a video. And after, you know, alhamdulillah, I was fasting for Ramadan. And what I tried to do is not make the people's news of their victories against us stop, you know, my forward path. You know, like I was telling the brother Muhammad Bashir, you know, I keep it happy. You know, no matter what they say, oh, they're doing this and they're doing that, I'm still going to keep it moving. I know that as long as I work every day towards goodness, towards the truth, then what's going on outside doesn't matter, and what's in front of me, I'm going to correct with the help of my creator. So, brother, let's show this video. Okay, so as you can see, this was a horrible situation, and actually, when it was posted, I was they couldn't block it because it wasn't showing any actual violence; it was just showing the truth. But they said, you know, they had to black out the actual definite visual of it. So this is the reality. This is something that we're not seeing. And what do you want to talk about that? You can talk, and then we can go into Al-Aqsa and the importance of it.
Well, yeah, I think the importance of what you saw there on the video is the part of the discussion that never really happens as it relates to the so-called Arab-Israel conflicts. You never catch the people who are at peace. You always catch them, or the government attacking the people who are at peace, or provoking an incident. I've always been under the impression that Israel as a state has always had designs on the entirety of the land. And the only way they have ever been able to move toward getting more and more and more of the land is through protracted and sometimes orchestrated acts of violence. As far back as the early 1940s, you have their Herschel gangs and these kind of things committing terrorist acts on the land, a land that they were trying to gain control over, and they eventually gained control over it because of the British and the attacks on the Ottomans from World War I. It was Palestine being an Ottoman territory, and they picked that one out, and then they used terrorism to get into the land. Now that they're into the land, they get into 1948, and they have the British backing them, the Ottoman Empire having been broken up and split up by the winning powers of World War I and World War II, having completely decimated the Ottoman Empire, they believe. They now have control over the land of Palestine, and they're able to give it out. So they're giving it out to a small group of people who now call themselves the Zionists. Zionists, as far back as the early 1900s, are planning and plotting this, and they're using violence as a way of getting into the land. Once they're into the land, almost immediately, what do you expect to happen? They declare themselves to be a free state in 1948. 1948, they're at war now with the Arab states that used to be part and parcel of the Ottoman Empire. They say, no, you just can't bum rush and declare yourself a state. And the UN and the UN Security Council, backed by the United States and by Britain, allows this. So it immediately results in a war. 1948, so you got Egypt, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, I forget the other state, Iraq. If you remember, Egypt, Jordan, Iraq, and Lebanon are all U.S. allies ever since that time, ever since, say, 67. But the point is, with each war, the U.S. backs them, the British backs them, and they begin to encroach more and more on the land. So it's hard to argue that it's not orchestrated.
Yeah.
When you see this,
Right.
you have to look behind the scene and say, was this orchestrated to be able to do something else that's going on there as it relates to gaining the land?
Right, and that's the thing. I mean, you know, because you keep mentioning Britain, and when you mention Britain, you and United States, they're one when it comes to it. And the reality is we look at how this land was taken from the natives of this country. The same way, the same type of situation, how it was taken, and we know that history. We know this history. This is the policy. This is how they did it. They make the natives of that country look a certain way, act a certain way. Oh, they're scalping people. They're savages. They're doing this because of the way that they react.
Right.
But what did you do to them? And so, in this situation, what they've constantly, even for us, they're constantly getting us in. Does Israel has a right to this, or is this type of situation? Like I told him, I said, one of the things I want to focus on with this show, because we have so many shows about, does it have the right to exist? Is this right? Who's backing up the Palestinians and all of that? Mine is, let's talk about Al-Aqsa, like you said. This is orchestrated. Yeah. Because there's so much history, behind it. There's so many people that have claimed on that, that place. Because when we look at Al-Aqsa, everybody just think about the Rock of the Dome. But, you talk about the whole complex. Right. And we talk about even from the, for in Islam, we say from the time of Adam alayhi salam. It was like they said that the Prophet ﷺ was asked what was the first place of worship. And he said, in Mecca. And then what was it next? He said Al-Aqsa, 40 days later. So then that had to be a descendant of Adam to be able to build that place. And then throughout the time, it's gone through its back and forth, the people, removing it and taking it, even during the time of Suleiman. And one of the things about with the Suleiman, we look at it, we look at so many people associated. You have the Muslims associated with Suleiman. You have the Christians associated with Suleiman or Solomon. You have the Jews associated with Suleiman. Then you have the magicians, who tried to attribute themselves, to a relationship because Suleiman had the power that no one else had. He had control of the jinn. And so, you have people that hold on to that follow that, or hold on to their magic and all kind of other things, and the Kabbalah and all these other stuff, associated with that. So they all have a claim to that. And so a lot of times we're looking at, what they're projecting to us in the media of, oh, well, look at these Palestinians, and should they have been there, and were they there before? Who was here? There was, I here, or these people here? And it's like, come on, man. This is not it, like you said. And so then to do it at a peacetime.
Right.
The month of Ramadan is the most peaceful time in that area.
Right.
The most peaceful time in that area. Yeah, you had the people being evicted. Why you choose to evict the people during the month of Ramadan? They know how we are.
Yeah.
They know how Muslims we're going to defend when it comes to a religion. I was talking with someone about here in America. America was the land where people from Timbuktu and other places, Muslim countries, was willing to come over here to fight in jihad, fight and struggle, because the slaves were being taken from there. So they came over here. They said, I'll get caught, and I will be able to come here and fight because you're taking our people. They were taking rape. We didn't just let them take the Muslims from Mali and Timbuktu and all of the places. And even Haiti, we look at the Haiti gaining its freedom. Why? Because some of the people from the African nations, the Muslim nations, came over here, let themselves get caught, came over here, and then they worked and they fought and they fought the people. So America has a long-standing history. The Europeans, that whether you're a Christian European or Jewish European or whatever, and then they have a long-standing history. How we are. And how dealing with the Muslims, and what happens when you attack our places of worship. What happens when you attack our religion.
Right.
And this, for educated people, it's not like the people over there are ignorant. No, they're very educated. Right. They study, they calculate, and the United States counsels them, and they do not make a move unless the United give that States special wing.
Absolutely. And the real thing, the underlying premise of your question was, why would they evict them during Ramadan? And as I was saying earlier about the strategy of it, you see, if you constantly are beating the people up over what the international community is saying is small, it's weak, your argument is weak, etc. You now know your argument is weak, but you have to find a way to escalate the argument. What better way to escalate the argument than to attack during Ramadan? You have now escalated the argument. See, because Israel needs the conflict. They need the conflict because, as you said, they are trying to evict people because of the so-called right to return. And that right to return is embodied in the UN Charter. So that goes as far back as 1948 as well. That right to return, meaning that if you seize land by virtue of a war, you can't take that land. The people who are refugees who leave the land may not be participants in your war, so they leave the land, they have a right to return back to their land. So the people who returned back, who were being evicted, were people who were refugees in 67, or who could make a connection to the 67 war, or the 48 war, or the Golan Heights war, or all the wars that they constantly keep drumming up and then seizing land by virtue of it. That's a violation of international law. But now that's in front of their courts to determine whether or not these so-called refugees who are living in Jordan, who are living in Lebanon, etc., have the right to return. Some of them returned, and the Jews want the land. All right? And I'm not saying the Jews, the Zionists want the land.
You know what?
Because we need to make those distinctions.
Really, yeah. Or Ashkenazis.
Yeah.
Or Ashkenazis.
Right. Well,
because one of the things is Ashkenazis, there's a difference between a Semite person, a Semitic person, right? Or the Semites during the time of Jesus that practiced, Judaism, and the Ashkenazis of the time of today that practice Judaism.
Which is
and the majority of the people in Ashkenazis are the European. They classify themselves, and everybody else they have a separate name for it.
Right.
The Ashkenazis, are the majority of people there who their lineage is not from there. They may have a portion, but they're Europeans. Just like I'm an African American and I'm a Muslim, but I don't have claim to Arabia, or the Hejaz. Right. I have claim to go visit there and other things. But to say, if I'm going to say my bloodline, okay, I'm coming there, I'm a Muslim. You guys got to get out of here, because this is mine. No. Right. And that's like that right to return. They've flipped that, and they try to put it for the ignorant person believe that the right to return is for them.
That's right. That's as if they were the original Bnei Israel, the children of Israel. Right. They might be converted.
And if you the thing is ignorance is so beneficial to the oppressor.
Yes.
But today we live in a time that people can learn, but people still want to remain ignorant.
Right. Right.
When you can Google it and to be able to find out, just like right now we talk about the return of Isa. When Isa returns, he's not going to be Ashkenazi. He's not going to be a Christian. He's going to be a Semitic person, the same one that left, the same type of people that left.
Right.
And when he comes back, people are going to be surprised, because if you look at the people that left, that's coming back, no. And he's coming back, and he's supposed to be able to come back in this time in that place.
That's right. That's right.
So here we having all of these events. Everything in America stopped. The world stopped. Everything stopped. What's happening? We shut down all the places of worship. Now we're opening up the place of worship, and you're gonna attack a place of worship, and show this type of atrocity, we get silence from both administrations.
Well, the trickier part about it is that they didn't want to show that. That leaked.
Right.
Because the design, my humble opinion, is looking at the history is, again, the attack at the mosque is an escalation. They were hoping to pull on the emotions of the Muslims.
Right.
So that the emotions would allow them to do the firecracker versus the cannon thing. Mm-hmm. You fire some rockets, we come and lay waste to the land and able to seize the land.
Right.
And they fell for it, as they seem to always do. I don't know why, whether that's political or not. I'm still trying to figure out what Hamas's thought process is in that. But it's
kind of like we do with the Black Lives Matter and the protests and all of that, and then they'll put a couple of them in the crowd, and they go start busting out the windows.
There you go.
We're out there to protest an injustice that happened to us, and then you get a couple of them in the crowd, and then they bust the windows, and everybody's like, oh, and then they know that if I do this, you're gonna do that.
Right.
That's what they do.
And that's exactly
what people fall for it every time. And not stopping like, no, hold up, no. Let's address this. Right. You're in violation. You're not supposed to be in here.
Right.
You shouldn't have.
Right.
And let's deal with that. Let's not do anything.
Right.
Let's talk about this. Let's see what's happening with this. Mm-hmm. Because they had a golden opportunity to point out that injustice, to be able to run up into this place which say, no, you're not going to do that in America.
Right.
If that had happened to a place of worship, to a place of worship that the European Jews are practicing, what would happen if everything would stop and everybody has to apologize? And if it was a Muslim, we'd all have to apologize. Right. And that's why we're demanding an apology from these people. We need an apology because they should have never gone in there.
Absolutely.
They should have never gone in there. We're wrong. I'm not talking about the government, the Israeli government. I'm talking about the people, whoever. Whether you're backed it up, you were wrong. You shouldn't have gone in there. There should be apology. And Americans here in America, the American government should apologize and force them. As an American, I have a right for my places of worship to be protected just like anybody else. Mm-hmm. When anything happens with the Ashkenazis or the European Jews, and something happened in Israel, and then they demand us to speak. When they had the in 2014, some terrorist act happened, and then they in the synagogue, and everybody gathered and everybody came out and spoke against it. The Muslims, the Christians, the Jews, they gathered together. Where's that for us? Because they do it? Because the European or the government does it? Right. It's okay? No. You're not supposed to disrespect our place.
Right.
This is a place for, like I said, from the time of Adam, Suleiman, Moses, all of the prophets, Jesus. This is the place for us. We have it with Zachariah. He made the dua. And to be able and because of that, he had John the Baptist. Mary, in our book, it says that Mary was raised up in this place. Raised up in that confine, in that area. Mary, the mother of Jesus. You see, that's how much this goes back.
Yeah, and it goes forward. We will be raised up there.
Right.
On the day of Yom Kippur.
Right.
We'll be raised up in that area.
Right.
All right. And I heard a hadith, I heard a lecture, and the imam was saying that those of us who have been completed successful hajjs, they will remove that Allah's angels will remove the Kaaba and place it in Jerusalem, and those of us who have had successful hajj will be holding on to the curtain of the Kaaba.
Right.
Beautiful thought, right? So that we can bring all the worshipers together in one place.
Right.
So it's not just the past, it's the present and it's the future.
Right.
But the nature of the use of the Al Aqsa as being the place to start this was to tap into the emotion that would allow the dominoes to fall.
Exactly.
And that's what the Muslims have to see if nobody else see it.
Right.
That they're using the masjid and the sanctuary of the masjid and the peace of the holy month of Ramadan to foster a political agenda.
Right.
You know, and so while the oppression exists, the oppression has existed since 1948. While the oppression is escalating, while the oppression continues to escalate, the idea that you would use the masjid, if it doesn't do anything, because we never respond to the oppression. I don't want to have to say this, but as Muslims, we never respond to the oppression.
Right.
We always shout out and we yell, etc., but we never respond to the oppression because we don't see the collective necessity of us holding on to the rope of Allah.
Right.
But what the twist on this might be is that while they use the masjid to get their agenda out there, to trick people into responding, and then to move on the land, and to shut down this whole eviction thing, which they probably thought they were going to lose, and to protect Netanyahu, who's under corruption, because under their law he can't be tried as long as they're at war or in a skirmish. He can't be tried. He's like the remember how the United States had the same thing with Trump? Couldn't be charged if he was a sitting president. Well, he can't as long as they're in a battle. So he's charged with corruption and all this kind of stuff under Israeli law, but they can't do anything with it as long as he's involved in the skirmish. So it's to his benefit to extend it out, or to at least have one. But, so the use of the masjid only does what? It opens the door to those who are potentially radical to be able to say, we need to do something about Israel, so he can keep the front up. Like, this is really, I mean, it's the old Chinese proverb, you don't use a sledgehammer to kill a fly.
Right.
And that's what they're really doing here. The more they escalate it, the more they get the benefit of the propaganda and the publicity, and they protect those interests, and they move on the land. The three things that they really want.
The things that you pointed out, like you said, the use of is propaganda.
Yes.
You know, and the thing that for me is like, you know, I've taken my family, I've taken people to the Holocaust Museum. I'm not one of those people to say that it never happens and all of that. No, I took it to be able to show that this atrocity, what happened, and when you walk through it, you see, you know, there's a time sequence of different things that was done by Hitler during that time, and how they dealt with the people and all of that. So you have this type of situation, and you saw that America was quiet during that time. I saw newspaper articles where, you know, they didn't, you know, do anything. And then there was one thing that was a nice statement that they had that pointed out. The guy said, he said, when they came for the Jews, I did nothing. Then when they came for the Protestants, I did nothing. When they came for the gypsy, whatever stuff, I did nothing. He said, then when they came for me, there was no one else.
Yeah, no one
and
else.
And that's the same. This is how it is with the Muslims.
Yeah.
You know, here it is.
Yeah.
You know, this situation is coming. You know that it is wrong. But you say nothing. And we're going to the diversion that they give us to focus on, oh, look, they shot missiles. No, stop. Stop. Why is it? Are we that poor? Just because most of the media is controlled by the Ashkenazis, you know, they have it, they control the media, and then they're shutting it down, and they have to be just. The wrong is a wrong.
Right.
If you expect us to stand up against wrong, and we do, when there's terrorist acts or acts against them, here in America, when the acts was against him in Pittsburgh and stuff, we stood up. Where are you? Where are they?
Right.
They need to stand up and say that this is wrong. And the thing is about the propaganda and the techniques of Hitler, and what they did was, look at this. They destroyed, this is what Daniel did. They destroyed a building that had housed the BBC, Al Jazeera, all it down to, and they had people living in there, destroyed it.
Yes.
Which this is a clear violation, but we get silence.
Right. But it was designed so that the actual story would be in control of the government media, as opposed to the actual media that was there on the scene. So they weren't able to do their job up front, which gave the government a chance to put their story out first, that they were under attack. And so when you see 500 dead Palestinians and 10 dead Israelis, you have to be foolish to believe that there's a equilibrium, equality of the battle going on here, if there is a battle.
Right.
Because the story is being told by a particular type of media, and that media is associated with their government.
And then, you know, this whole thing where it's like, okay, when you have a military like United States military, you know, it's like we live in D.C., you know, and so sometimes we get a chance to see the military planes flying over, coming, you know, from Andrews and everything and stuff. You see these huge planes.
Right.
And you see these monsters. I mean, it's just like, and I'm like, wow, man. Imagine if I was in one of those countries, seeing that coming to bomb me. What am I gonna do?
Right.
I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna throw rocks at it.
Right.
And we support them financially, give them what they got. What they got, we got. Matter of fact, they got better stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Which is what I said. If you read my Facebook post, my most recent one, the people who are in control of Israel's purse strings, of the oppressive purse strings, is the United States. The people who are going to have to change that, whether or not that is going to be oppressive, that relationship is going to be oppressive there,
Right.
or whether it's going to be one that attempts to sue for peace, and looks for peace between the two or the varying factions there that lay claim to that holy land, is going to be the people here who have the ability to impact on the people who have the purse strings. We don't think like that. We're thinking, oh, that's a Palestinian thing. I literally read a Muslim that said it's not in the sunnah to protest.
And see, and that's what the form of protest. But you have to look at, okay, protest wise like that. No, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what did he do? Did he to protest is to what? Go against. To say this is wrong. So what did he do? Did he protest against shirk? Yes. Yes. As soon as he got a chance to go out and tell the people about the religion, go out, and then what did they do? They went to the Kaaba, and then they told the people, and he said to them, "Hey, if I told you that an army was coming and stuff, would you believe me?" They would say, "Oh yeah, yeah." Then he started telling them, "Is that but?" State protesting about something, protesting about an injustice, and the most unjust crime is what? Worshiping other than the Creator, your Creator.
Right. And
so with Ibrahim alayhi salam, Abraham, what did he do? He protested against shirk. He said, "What are you doing? Worshiping these idols?" And he destroyed an idol. And they came back and they said, "Well, hey, what you do, man? What happened?" He said, "Who did that?" He said, "Ask him, man." Is that but protesting? He destroyed something that they worship. Here it is, a false idol. So this whole thing and stuff, or whatever, for people to say, tools to keep you back from it. No, destroying something, yes. Right. No, we don't do that.
That's right.
Marching through the street, no, but we have to. The Prophet ﷺ said, and Allah said, if there's a wrong, we have to what? Act against it.
Right.
And if you can't act against it, you have to speak against it. Right. And if you can't speak against it, you have to hate it in your heart. And this is what we're doing right now.
Right.
This is an act of wrong. So for all you Muslims that think you have to be going to be quiet concerning Al-Aqsa, let me read something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have. Surah Al-Isra. This is the 17th chapter of the Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said this about that place that you feel that you don't have to speak about. And I read the Arabic and the English. It says, Subhana alladhi, because I'm going to read it because of the word. So nobody can say, oh, well, it's not that in the Arabic. Subhana alladhi asra bi abdihil layla min al masjid al haram. That's in Mecca. Ila al masjid al aqsa. Ila al masjid al aqsa. Again, ila al masjid al aqsa. الذي باركنا حوله لنريه من الآيات آياتنا إنه هو السميع البصير. In English, glorified and exalted be He, Allah, above all the evil that they search with, who took His slave Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam for a journey by night from Al Masjid Al Haram in Mecca to the farthest masjid in Jerusalem. Masjid Al Aqsa, the neighborhood whereof we have blessed, this area we have blessed, in order that we might show him of our ayats and our proof. Verily, he is the all-hearer, the all-seer. So this is in the Quran. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. Allah has mentioned this place. Allah took the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he took him from Mecca, and he took him on Al-Barak, and he took him to this place. And then from there, he took him to the heavens. This is the association that we have. This is a place that's blessed. That we know that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam went up into the heavens. Up into the heavens from this place. And when he went there, they said that he did 2 rakahs. And when he did the 2 rakahs, he saw all of the prophets there. So that's why we say all of the religions, all of the faiths that you know and that you don't know, because he said all of the prophets were there for him to be able to make this salat, and he was so happy. So for those that think that we have it because you want to get on the Palestinian side or non-Palestinian side, no, this is a violation of Masjid Al Aqsa. This is a violation of faith. This is a violation of belief. Like you said, a nation of faith. Then that covers us all. That covers all the religion, because that faith in that Creator is one. That faith in those angels are one. That faith in the book is one. In the books, the faith in the prophet is one. It's all from the Creator, and this is it. So for people like you said, oh, protesting is not it. No, okay, but then let's refer to that. Then what you gonna do? You gonna just act upon it?
Right.
You gonna hate it in your heart?
Well,
You got to do something, brother, right? Because this is wrong. Is it all right?
All right. All right.
And it was open up for phone calls. We told the people to give a call. We had to take a pause, but we want people to call in today because we want to see. I know you people watching. This is for all of you, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Christian, whether you're Jewish. You should all be upset that a house of worship that has grown from the time of Adam. And if the other people don't believe in the hadiths, but we know from the time of Solomon, from the time of Jesus, this place was trampled, and they started a war. What, over evicting? Because somebody threw stones at them, so they were throwing stones, so they had to be able to go inside and do this type of action. But yet we hear nothing. We're talking about the reaction. No, let's not talk about the reaction. Let's talk about the action. Here's our number. It's 301-429-9247. I want to hear this phone ring. Go ahead.
Let me give you a little bit of my understanding. And I know you said that the masjid was built by a descendant of Adam. My understanding of it is that there are two people who had a connection to both those masjids. Father Ibrahim and Ismail replenished the Kaaba, and Father Ibrahim and Isaac.
But the thing is
replenished.
The prophet is a hadith. There's a hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he was asked. One of the companions had asked him, what was the first place that was built by a place of worship that was built, and he said that was in Mecca, and he said, what was the second place, and he said that was Al Aqsa. Right, and he said, what was the span? He said 40 years.
40 years or 40 days?
Oh, it said 40 days.
40 years?
40 years or 40 days. But either way, 40 days, 40 years.
Right.
The fact is, if we talk about Adam, then it was one from his kids.
It was built for the worship of Allah.
And it was built during the time of Adam.
Absolutely.
And so Ibrahim came way after Adam.
Absolutely.
He came after Noah and all the other ones and stuff.
Right.
So if we have it that this is a hadith, a sahih hadith about the messenger, and the messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained it, then this is how we go.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Yeah. But again, I think that's sound. I think the real issue here is Masjid Al Aqsa for us. And I think that one of the things that we need to do when we see events like this, if we understand the nature of oppression, is understand that we have the guidance that deals with oppression. But I always ask people, why do you think Allah raising so many Muslims here in America? And I'm not just talking about those who migrate here or who immigrate here for the purpose of finding what they consider to be a better life, or seeking asylum or refugee status. I'm talking about those who were born indigenous to the culture. Why would we think? Do we think that we're here by accident? That we are being raised in the house? We are raised in the house of Pharaoh, of the most violent and so-called powerful country in the world that the world may have ever known. Why are we Muslims, people who believe in justice, being raised in a place where injustice reigns? If we're not sent here, put here for the purpose of being the ones who actually stand for justice. We should be calling every community toward justice no matter what happens. And the attack on Al-Aqsa being 310 AD, BC. No, yeah, AD.
Right.
Constantine is the
right.
The leader.
310, 312. Right.
What does he do? He turns Christianity, whatever Isa was turning into, what Isa had taught, into what's now referred to as modern Christianity. And he does what? He kicks out the people who worshipped different from him, who followed the teachings of Moses.
Right.
Immediately now, the people from Jerusalem are kicked out. These are what they now call Jews, but they were called Beni Israel at the time. So he
300
eliminates them.
years.
That was only 300 years
they couldn't go
after
back
Isa.
there.
They could not
Until
go back.
We took it over.
The people who took it over was Umar ibn al-Khattab
Right.
under his reign, and he allowed them to come back.
Right.
So that they could do whatever it is that they do. You know, that's between you and Allah.
They actually, when they took Basra first or something, and Abu Bakr during the time of Abu Bakr,
Right.
and then Umar,
And then
finalized, and Umar came in and did the prayer.
That's right. And opened the doors up for them to return to Israel, to Jerusalem, and begin to establish whatever it was they want to establish with no oppression on their deen. It happens again because then you have the big fights with the Crusades. Later on, after Rasulullah and after the Muslims have moved off into Spain and began to extend Islam around the world because people were saying this ruler here is oppressive.
Right.
Can you come help us because you are people who stand against oppression? So they would go and teach the people and even fight for the people if necessary what Islam was about and how it is designed to eliminate oppression.
Right.
And what happens then? You have your crusades, you come back, and now there's a big fight over the territory because everybody's laying claim to it. But the history is that when one group gets a hold of it, they slaughter everybody.
Right.
The blood is ankle high in the streets. When Nuruddin and then inherited his successor Salahuddin gained control of it, what do? They open up the city again.
Right.
They allow the people who were once oppressors to leave and open up the city for everybody to do whatever it is that they want to do in that, as long as they don't violate the sanctity of Masjid Al Aqsa.
Right.
You can, if this is the way you think you have to worship, we're not interfering with that. The city is an open city, it's a sacred city. Allah will judge between us on that.
And you know, one of the things is you got to look at it. You know, when you study history and you look at the individuals that's there, the individuals are not practicing as far as their actions, the way that they're dealing with the people. They're not practicing, you know, what was practiced before when it's taken. They're basically acting no different than the history of the Europeans. You know, and this is where most of the people from Russia, from Poland. So here, these acts that you come from in areas that was that you were oppressed because you were Russian and you accepted Judaism, and you were Polish and you accepted Judaism, and you were German and you accepted Judaism, and you know, this type of oppression that was against you. Now you go to another place and you let your bad side come out. You let the same actions of, you know, your ancestors that turned against you because you changed your religion or accepted a religion or had that part, and now you're doing it against other people. And so it's no different.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and it's no different. And but here it is, like I said, I'm going back to the so-called good Americans, you know, that want to say, you know, injustice is wrong. Like, we know if this was in America and this was done to a synagogue, then people would have to, we as Muslims, I would speak against it. You know, why would you do that? If this was done to the Vatican, oh my God. Woo!
Yeah.
Woo! I think
Yeah.
we'd be having World War III.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'd be having World War III if we, especially the Muslims, oh my God, went into the Vatican
Right.
and did that.
Right.
So, you know, but this is the thing is like I said, the game that's being played, and unfortunately we're being played like suckers.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because we're not talking about it. I don't see on the post. We opened up the lines for the people to call in. You know, maybe Facebook because, what's his name, Zuckerberg?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, okay, you know, he's going to limit, you know, what kind of play. The people think that doesn't happen.
Right.
No, they work together while we are separate. Oh,
Right.
you Shia, you Sunni, you this, you that, you Sufi. Oh, nah, man.
Right. And
The
it's
fact
fun.
is, we all have a relationship to this book.
Right, and that's the interesting thing about it. We as a community, especially a Muslim community, have a mandate to stand for right no matter who is for or who is against.
Right.
That oppression is worse than slaughter. That stand for justice even if it's against yourself. And here we are on the back end of all the injustice, knowing that we have the doctrine and knowing that I've read a Facebook post again because I put the post out on what I think about this whole circumstance, and one of the responses was that Allah is punishing them because they stepped off the Sirat al-Mustaqim. And I thought, but what if Allah is testing us? Here's a group of people that's maybe Allah is punishing them. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But while they're being oppressed, what if that oppression, and it happening at Al-Aqsa was a test for us to see whether or not we can unify even around that. Because if we can't unify around that people can come into the most sacred, the third most holiest site in Islam, that they can come in and do what they want to in there. If we can't unify around that, what can we unify around?
Right. And that's it. And here it is. Like I said, during this month of Ramadan, during this
the month
holy
of
night,
Ramadan.
during Laylatul Qadr,
Mashallah.
where we expect the angels to come down. We say the angels are going to come down in the ruh,
That's
you know,
right.
with the commands of Allah. During this time period, during those last days, because it was the 25th,
It was
or the 26th.
an odd night.
Exactly.
An odd night.
And so while they're trying to seek the pleasure of the Lord, the people seeking their pleasure, trying to see the angels. But yet, you know, like I said, we're going to, and then to say the punishment, where is this person from? Because every place needs the punishment. Because everybody's off the Surat al-Mustaqim.
Okay.
Somebody put something, and they said that, and they said, oh, you know, I said, well, brother, he said, oh, because this, you know, Allah protects his people. I said, okay, let me ask you. I said, look, I said, Umar, radiyallahu anhu. No, I mean, Umar, Uthman, Ali, Hussein. I said, these people, what? Were the best worshippers after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam of all existence. But what happened? They were killed by evil people. The caliphs were killed by what? Evil people.
Correct.
So are you using that? That's a judgment, you know, whether because of your worship. These are the best worshipers. What are you talking about, bro?
Right.
No, the action of the evil is what you have to look at.
Right.
And this is what you have to do. And then so you're sanctifying the action of the evildoers.
Right. Which
Are you
means-
sanctifying that, oh, Umar radiallahu anhu was all astray because he got stabbed? He got killed?
Right.
Are you saying that Uthman radiallahu anhu, you know, was astray? That's why he got killed? Were you saying Ali radiallahu anhu was a... No, man. So if you're going to say a principle, then you have to hold it. This is what our religion is about.
Right.
You have to be consistent.
Right.
In the people, man. And it's a shame. But here it is, like I said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala naming this place. Saying this is where that he took the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And, you know, it was funny because people always talk about, you know, like the when this happened, the people were like, how can you have done that in the night? You know, the Prophet to travel from, you know, and here we talking about physically. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying physically to travel. And people like, oh man, they'll still say today, well, you know, he really didn't travel down. And I'm like, yo, let me ask you a question. Can a car right now, did man create a vehicle that he can be able to travel to from Mecca to Jerusalem and back in the night? Yeah. Can a car do it? I think so. Can a plane do it? Yeah. Oh yeah. It can do it in no time. It can go around the world. So here it is. Man is able to come up with some vehicles, a vehicle that will transport you from this place to that place, and you're still denying the truth of this. You're realizing the reality. Oh man, it can do it, but Allah subhanahu Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can't. Allah can't.
Right.
Allah can't. Right. This is well, he really didn't do it. You still stuck on stupid. You see the proof that it can be done by man. So what, is man a greater God? Man is God?
Yeah.
But our creator can, and our creator said this is what he did.
And the importance, as important is why Jerusalem? To demonstrate, as he says, how important, how sacred this particular place is.
And made sure our connection.
Made sure that we
You
connected
can't
with
escape
that.
the connection, yo.
That's right.
You can't escape the connection.
The Muslim-
Allah connected us to this
The
place.
Muslims used to be, that was their Qibla before he changed it to Mecca.
Exactly.
We can't escape.
We can't escape
Al
this.
Aqsa.
Allah naming this in here.
So the test,
So, yes, the test is
I
on
think
us.
The test is
On
on us.
us.
Allah
To
is
see-
calling us out. If you think he's torturing some Muslims, I believe Allah is calling us out.
And he's
Are you
calling us
going?
out.
Can you unify around anything? We always sitting around talking. Well, we can't unify on anything. We can't unify on, if you're black, you can't unify on black.
Right.
If you Muslim, you can't unify on what sect you want to belong into. If you woman, you can't unify on whether or not you want to wear hijab or just a hijab. We got so many diversions, and so Allah gave us something explosive.
Exactly.
Can you
Unify,
unify
right.
around what I say is sacred?
Right, and we
can
need
you
apology.
unify around it?
We need them to join together. We need the European Jews, the Semitic Jews, all of the people in America, you know, that always calling us to come and speak against, you know, a wrong. You need to speak against this wrong about that action. I'm not talking about everything else that followed. You need to speak against that wrong. You need to put it in the newspaper. And we need the Muslims to be able to recognize that this is something that we all need to be able to speak against. This is not something that's just the Palestinians, and they also need to deal with that onslaught that's happening. Because the reality is that the people of Palestine, they live there. Mm-hmm. They know why they went to that masjid that night. Mm-hmm. They know what they were doing. Mm-hmm. They know that they were worshiping the Lord. Right. They were seeking the face. They were seeking the angels. They were seeking this time for the Spirit. Mm-hmm. So when this happened to them, it's natural for you to react. Imagine that happening here. Mm-hmm. Now imagine that happening. I'm not talking about America in the suburbs. I'm talking about America in our neighborhoods, in the city, the inner city. Right. And somebody does that. Right. How will we react?
Right. Right.
During the time.
Right. Right.
We stop you. We don't know. You don't come in our places of worship and run in there and just do anything. And we would never stop. You talk about protests. If they did that here in America and just went inside because somebody's throwing some rocks outside and they went inside our places of worship in America, what would we do?
Yeah.
So if we know that we wouldn't stop until they apologize, until they address it, and we would stand and we would go to our representatives and have them speak against it. Oh, well, look what they did. No. I'm not talking about what the other dudes did.
Right.
That he did this to the police. Nah, you should not have come up in our place.
Right.
Yes, you know how we are. Right. So some of us, but most of us are logical, and we're gonna address the fact you shouldn't have come up in here, shooting bombs, running up in here with your shoes, going after our people. We would not stop until it's done, and we wouldn't have to attack them.
Right.
We would go against your violations of the law.
Right.
So you'll know that this wouldn't happen here, but what? It's okay over there when you're just an extension of America, because the same Europeans run the place.
Facts.
They get everything, our funds from there.
Yeah.
They
get our funds to go do their dirt.
I was looking at the support. I was looking at pulling up Al Aqsa and all that, and all I saw was our Christian brothers. They're advertising for support and finance, and I'm like, wow. And I saw somebody put up there, and it's like, hey, we believe that Jesus, the real one, the one that left, we say he wasn't killed, that he was raised up to the heavens. From that same place. Yeah. Raised up to heaven. That same one that left is coming back. We wait for him to come back.
Right.
But you're supporting the ones that said, no, he was a liar and he's a deceiver. So that one is never coming back because he's dead and that's it. He wasn't there. But here we are, waiting, knowing that he's going to come back in that place, and you're backing up an injustice like that. Right. It reminded me of that situation that happened in, what was it, South Carolina with, what's the name, the killer that killed the people in the church.
Dylan Roof.
Here it is. A man's going to come up in a church, a house of worship, and it's going to turn into a race issue? This shouldn't be a race issue. This should be an issue that every Christian in America, every religious person in America should have been appalled that a person can come up in a place of worship and kill people. But it turned to a race. So race is greater. Your tribe, your race, or whatever is greater than your belief for God. That the whole nation that believed in God, said they believed in God, with the Christian movement, and especially the Christians, should have all stood up and not turned it into a race thing. But it was a race thing.
Allow someone else to turn it into a race thing, because they did the same thing when they ran up in that Sikh temple and killed off all those Sikhs.
Right.
They did the same thing. They turned it into a race issue, as opposed to understanding that this was a place of worship. That there are some places that are supposed to unite people by the sacredness of the land.
Right.
This is untouchable. No matter what you do, this is untouchable, and this has to be stopped. This is something that, no matter what you say, this is not something that's got to be acceptable.
Right. There was I pulled up, and it's a rabbi. He used to be in charge of the I guess defense or whatever, something, and his name was Mikhail Malachayar or something like that. And he spoke against. He said, look, this is something that you just don't do.
Right.
He said, we need to speak again. He said, you just don't go inside Al Aqsa. You just don't do that.
Right.
You don't send military. You don't send troops. You don't send, soldiers inside the place. You don't send police in there.
Right.
He spoke against it. Right. And this is a man that tries to be able to bring the Christians, the Muslims, and the Jews together. And he spoke. But I saw one little article, and they just had a thing, and that's it. They even shut him up. Because they turned it into a program. And here it is. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, he says, do not let your hate for a people cause you to be unjust.
Right.
And this is one of the principles, this is one of the things that I had to address with myself. You know, with the racism and different things that was going on. And I remember when I was like 16, and my father sent me the Quran, and I had issues, and I said, you know, I had my feelings. And then I went to college in Boston, and all the racism I was going through, I started, you know, being a little prejudiced, racist, you know, to a certain extent, prejudiced. And then when I read the Quran, I saw what Allah said. I had to check myself and check my heart,
Right.
and I had to step that do not let that my hate for, you know, the actions basically of the people cause me to be unjust.
Right.
And this is how we have to be. And so Muslims can't be unjust to anybody. Where I hear the people, we should do this and we stop. No, we should address this, and we should always be just.
Right. And
because if you die being unjust, you're going to get punished.
And we should be always in the forefront of addressing it. So
Right.
those of us who are journalists, we should be doing our journalist thing, if that's all we can do. Those of us who are doctors, we should be doing our doctor thing. Whatever it is that helps move this message forward.
Right.
You know, that this is not acceptable. Oppression is not acceptable. So, if we can come around principles that we know gain us paradise.
Right.
I mean, we can't come together around actions that would gain us paradise.
Right.
I mean, think about
But
that.
this shows whether you really believe in paradise.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you know, that's why during the month of Ramadan, we went over as Baba Nuzul. So to make it real, to make this a real situation, so that people can understand the reasons for revelation and understand. And it would have been nice to go over Al Isra, the reason for revelation. You know, during that time, and you know, to go over it. What had happened, why, and during that time when this incident happened, many people that follow Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they left the religion,
Right.
because they could not believe that this man did what he did.
Right.
You see?
Right. That they couldn't follow. They couldn't ride with that story of him flying from or moving from Mecca to Jerusalem to
Right.
paradise and being back in the same night.
Right.
Couldn't,
and they focus
couldn't
more on
accept
that even than going up to the heavens.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, but here it is, and you got to ask yourself out there, Muslims, which would you be? Because your action of today shows what you would have been of before. That's something like that. The reason you never seen me riled up like this the whole show. I'm riled up like this the whole show because this is something you don't do. This is something you don't do, and the silence that we hear from our people. We got line one. All right. Okay, we got a call. Hello, who's it calling?
Assalamu alaikum, this is Farouk.
Wa alaikum assalam. How you doing?
Salam to Allah.
Alhamdulillah, how the brother?
Doing great. All right. So you got a statement, Brother Farouk? Where you calling from?
Yeah, I'm calling from Atlanta.
That's a beautiful place. How you doing? All right. Hopefully you guys can deal with all of those new laws that they coming up with. You know, new Jim Crow voting laws, man. Change that around, man. Trying to stop y'all from that progress that you're making. You know, changing the pendulum and stuff. But go ahead.
Eid Mubarak, by the way.
Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak. Yeah, I was in the match, so I missed a large portion of the show. But what I did catch, I wanted to comment on one thing. And you said about the Muslims believing in paradise. When I look at the situation, the first thing I think is that it's a lot of Muslims in the world, but it's not many believers. Because when Allah describes the believers and how they protect each other and how they stand for justice and how they're willing to sacrifice certain things to earn Allah's pleasure, I don't see it. You know, when you see something like this happening, these people are very methodical when they do things. And so for them to attack one of the holiest sites of Islam, there's no question they knew they can get away with it. They would never do something like this. They knew the Muslims was going to stand up and say, we ain't going for this.
Facts.
And when I say stand up, I don't mean tweeting about it and messaging and saying, let's not buy Starbucks coffee. I mean some real repercussions. Because when you throw a rock over that fence and hit one of them soldiers, there's repercussions for the Palestinians in lives, in food, and it's real. You know, you got to think about doing this because something's gonna happen, and that doesn't happen with them when they attack the Muslims. Somebody might get up and make it and talk real loud and say things, but it seems like to me, and this is my opinion, and Allah knows best, the Muslims think about their dunya consequences before they do anything in regards to the deen. And I'm talking about not even just fighting, just giving. feeding the poor. If I feed the poor, how much money I'm going to have left? You know, so when the law say, I'll reward you with this if you do this, and I'll reward you with this if you die, and it's, you know, do the Muslims believe this? Because some of the decisions is made based on how am I going to end up in dunya if I do this?
Right.
If I aid Allah on this mission and get locked up, I don't want to get locked up. I know Allah said He'll give me Jannah, but I don't want to go to jail.
Right.
If I spend this money and Allah said He'll repay me this many times fold, I might be broke, but Allah said He's going to give it back to me. And the Muslims are not willing to do these things. So when I see them attack a masjid, it don't surprise me, because if a Muslim ain't willing to be broke to earn Allah's pleasure, they're not going to risk their life or their freedom or
their job. Their job. I mean, I saw a post from an activist, and you know, the activist, a Muslim sister, had said, you know, that you know, people have told her to back off, you know, from this issue because she may lose, you know, supporters. And I put in there, I said, if people are telling you to back off, you know, because you may lose supporters, then these are people that are not supporting you. They didn't support you. They supported the agenda. I remember watching a film, and this is what the lecture with Martin Luther King. And he said that the people came to him and said that I need to step back from my conversation, because I'm going to lose support for the Southern Christian leadership or something.
Right.
And he said, it's obvious you don't know me. He said, you know, because of my pocket is being affected, that's not going to change me. And so here it is. We have a people from our tribe, a regular person standing up. What about us? How are we supposed to stand up? That, you know, this type of situation, whether your job, like in media, here it is. Oh, now because we're speaking against it, you know, we might not get followers, or we might, people will restrict us. Why? Because the media is controlled by a group. Majority of the group that's controlled by the media are the Europeans, and also the European people that practice that, you know, that religion. We don't have any say. We don't unify, and we know that. And we don't work together.
So Brother Farouk.
So guys, sorry, go ahead.
I put out a statement. Give me your opinion on it. And that is, if the attack on the masjid can't unite the Muslims to at least think and act in one accord, what will make us react in one accord? Or will that be a test for us? Is that being a test for us?
I think for the Muslims, the answer to that is the same answer to a show you had about a month ago about black people. If they don't do it on... So, and I think that the Kuffar knew this before they did this. They already tested the waters with invading Muslim countries and bombs on weddings and dropping bombs on Muslim shelters and said, we'll give you a couple dollars. And they looked and seen, let's see how the Muslims react.
That was the first. That was the first part of the show that you missed.
They've been sticking their feet in the water to test the water. So this is now. They knew the water was warm.
Yeah.
The water was good. Let's go.
Yeah.
So there was no fear of any repercussion when they did this, because the water was already proven to be primed for this. And all around the world, you're going to hear the Muslims saying, "Let's unite." But a week later, every Muslim going to take their position with their group and say, "Let's not do this."
And you know, and one of the things that we want to address is not even just like I said. This is not a call just to the Muslims. This is a call to the people of righteousness. This is a call to the Christians. This is a call to the Jews, who always call us forth when something wrong. And like you said, that they knew. Here it is, their propaganda machine. They control propaganda so much that they can destroy a building that houses, like you said, the AP, you know, the BBC, all of the medias. They can destroy it. And they know that we're going to keep moving forward with our tactics, that we're going to destroy media, so no coverage of this, and nothing is going to be said outside of that place.
Yeah, I agree to a certain extent with the world, with the people of righteousness. I'm one of them people who believe that, you know, as far as black people, we got to change our condition, and that's the same for the Muslims. And Allah give us, the difference with the Muslims is, Allah give us conditions to receive His help. And when you see stuff like this happen, it's a sign that the Muslims don't have the help of Allah. And one of the signs, the conditions that we are united as a body. And we're not hating each other and looking at each other saying, well, that's not my country, so I don't care.
Right.
And this is what you have with the Muslims in every country for the most part. So now you see the help of Allah is not here. So the enemies of Islam are able to do anything to us because as Muslims, we are not meeting the conditions that we're supposed to meet to get Allah's help.
There you go.
Now,
Right.
if the kuffar want to, if the Christians ain't going to say kuffar, the non-Muslims want to help, alhamdulillah, justice is justice. But as Muslims, we need to do what we have to do to get Allah's help.
Facts.
So we're not doing that.
Yeah, because
Right. Well, brother, I appreciate it. They sent us a few minutes ago. It's time to wrap up this show. So I appreciate you calling in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that. Because again, like I said, I think the test is on us. I think
Right.
this is Allah testing us. If you
It's a
can't
test on
unite
us.
around something as sacred as Masjid Al Aqsa, then you don't deserve the benefit of Allah's blessing on you
Well,
as a
anything,
community to raise you
anything,
up. Anything can happen to this
anything,
community if we can't
on
unite
anything.
around
If
stuff
you
like
can't
that.
stand up for our places of worship, this is the thing. This is what the Prophet ﷺ did when they went and they took back Mecca. What did they do? They went in there and they didn't kill anybody. They took it all over. His whole time while he was in Medina to be able to come back to bring the people to what? The worship of the one God, to restore that.
Right.
And here it is, we have a place. Then after that, what did they do? You talk about the Khalifas. They wanted to go back to take that place, to restore it, so we can have the worship of the one God.
Right.
And here it is, we have the worship of the one God in this place. And during our holy month, during the last nights, the holy time, and we focus on, whether the Palestinians or whatever, and you are that unfocused with the book of Allah and the life of the Prophet and the reality
Right.
that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like you said, chose that place to take our Prophet, to take him there and then elevate it and send him up into the heavens.
Right.
That's how important that place is.
Right.
But it's not that important to us.
Yeah.
And we say we believe, and we say we are Muslims, and we say we believe in La ilaha illallah. Well, La ilaha illallah, there's no God except Allah. Well, Allah sent this revelation. Muhammad al-Rasulullah, Muhammad ibn Abdullah said he went to that place, prayed to Rakas in that place, and went up to the heavens. But we're silent. May Allah cause us to be able to come together and be one ummah and speak and stand against injustice and not be tricked and caused to be riled up. Because Allah has said, Prophet ﷺ has said the greatest jihad is fighting shaitan within yourself. And that's how it is, to control yourself, to not let these jokers take you off and to be able to do some other things, to get you to focus and talking about killing somebody and doing that. No, stand up. We have rights. And here in America, we got over 10 million Muslims. If 10 million Muslims write to their senators and talk to these other people and start or withdraw their money and not get riled up, they love it when you get riled up. Just like I tell black people, they love it when you resist arrest. They love it when you act up so they can do what they want to do and they use that as an excuse to do it.
Tried and true strategy, right?
Hey,
Yeah.
how many black
Strategy.
people you ever seen get shot up in a courthouse?
Yeah.
But then you go in the courthouse. I used to be like, I'm never gonna let a police officer be the judge, the jury, all of them right there. I'm like, thank you, officer. And then after I get there, now I got my lawyer. So what's up? I talk to him anyway. I'm not scared of you, bro. This is my lawyer. Now what's up? Okay, yeah. You thought I was quiet and a punk? Nah, man. I got a lawyer. Now there's the judge right there, and there's the other people,
Right.
and you're in trouble.
Right.
Now what's up?
Right.
But we get tricked into it and stuff. Oh man, I'm standing up for rights. And now this joker do what they want to do.
Right.
And that's the same thing the Muslims do. So here it is lack of control. Whether you're a Muslim, whether you're black, the whole thing is we let the people of oppression play us. Let's stop being played.
MashaAllah.
May we follow this book, and may Allah guide us to the straight path. So, anyway, but we're going to be doing a couple of series, going over, we were actually, before this incident happened, we were hoping to go over generational curses of our people, that and how to be able to solve them. One of the things, it was funny, I talked to my son today, and he talked about, dealing with a man not being in the home and having the young men be the man of the house. And what does that take? And what do you have to be? And how do you learn? Because you teach the boy to be a man of the house, and then he grows up to it. And what are the things that you have to do?
Yeah.
Same thing, talk about generate curse, rape. rape in our society, the effects of rape. You know, I was talking with somebody who's talking about it with rape. We talk about rape with girls, and then they talk about it with rape with boys and people's sons being raped, but nobody never talking about it.
Right.
And this is something. So then you cause somebody to have a problem. Why? Because somebody's desire. You destroy a person for the rest of their lives, and these are conversations that can't be had.
But you know, it's so tremendous that you're talking about these kind of things, because all of these are within the parameters of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Allah sent this messenger and this message so that the people who follow it could correct these things, could be in the forefront of straightening these things out. And this is why I say I believe this particular incident of them running into the mosque is a test on us.
It's a test on us. It was a test on me.
That brings us together
test on you.
and say, look, we need to unite, because where there's going to be oppression is because the people who have the ability to stop the oppression are doing nothing.
Right.
And as long as we shouting and yelling and screaming and not
begging.
coming together,
Right.
because when we shout and it's just me shouting,
Right.
it's so what?
Right,
But if
exactly.
we shout 10 million strong,
Right.
we move 10 million strong, we don't have to do really anything. We just have to be able to demonstrate that we 10 million strong.
Right.
And that means strong, meaning that we all move in the same direction. All right? Even if I don't agree with whether or not your pants should be rolled up, or you believe that my beard isn't short enough. You know, but if we believe that nothing has the right to be worshipped but Allah, if we can agree on the things that we can agree on and move as one, that we can agree that entering a masjid as sacred as Masjid Al Aqsa, if we can agree on that, we 10 million strong on that. We should be 10 million strong on that.
Right.
And 10 million strong,
Strong.
anywhere in the world is power.
And the thing is
a
we're
power
here in
that I
America,
believe that Allah will
and
shine His mercy on.
Right. We got to use our power.
Yeah.
And we have to use our power and stuff. And that's it. Like you said, 10 million strong.
Yeah.
And unified. So I appreciate this. You know, anything that I've said wrong, it is from myself and the deceiver. Anything I said right, man, Allah guide us to that path to be able to follow that and maybe practice it. Peace be with you. Assalamu alaikum. Paz contigo. Salam lenti yuhun. Until next week. Inshallah.